morning, guys. How are you? Happy Friday. Is everybody good? Okay? Yes? You're like, okay, so we are going to continue where we left off. We're going to keep going through metabolism, nutrition. This whole section is focusing more on nutrition. The next sets of material, and the slides are already up, are the cells. Basically cells. I do a little bit on stem cells, some of those, and mitosis. That's one set. The next set will be chromosomal inheritance, meiosis, and basically genetic diseases and genetic testing. That's the next section, and I will put those up very soon. These are already there. And these chapters specifically, if you read those this weekend, make sure you've already gone through metabolism, nutrition, healthy eating, that section. So read cell structure, cell function, all the cell part, and mitosis. And this is kind of that chapter. Chromosomal inheritance, mitosis, meiosis, genetic testing, genetic. It has all the page numbers laid out right on your schedule. Those are the two sets of material. And we're finishing this and we're going there. Okay? We also have our first lecture exam quiz next week on Friday. Okay? And I'm going to be, you guys asked for a study guide, so I'm going to be putting together a checklist, to-do list, study guide, and hopefully I can have that done by tonight or tomorrow. And I'll put it on Moodle. And then somebody can, you know, if you want to coordinate, do it as a group, or you want to do it individually, it's up to you. Yes? Okay, so I'll give you several days to sort of work on that as you're going through your material. But keep up on your reading. And we slowed down a bit, so there's not a ton of reading actually. I know it's dense and it's technical, but there's not a lot of it. So we sort of ended here, homeostasis of body weight. And we're doing this as well in lab with your nutrition logs and your physical activity journaling and all that. We're going to see how this comes together. But basically, this is kind of a teeter-totter of feeding or energy intake versus metabolic activity or energy expenditure. That balance of what you're taking in and what you're burning or what you're putting out. And remember, the three major components, and now we've talked about this 3 separate times in lecture and in lab, 3 separate components of how much you're burning or expending are basal metabolism or BMR, how much physical activity you do, so your physical exertion of your body, and adaptive thermogenesis, whether it's diet-induced, and that doesn't mean go on a diet, that means what you eat. Every time you eat, actually eating increases your metabolism, right? Because it takes energy to do all the mechanics of eating and to move the muscles of your GI tract and to absorb all those nutrients into your bloodstream. So it actually, we call that, and it's that specific dynamic action we talked about in lab, is the specific activity of eating, okay? And also cold-induced. What does that mean, cold-induced adaptive thermogenesis? Kind of today, it's a little chilly today. You bust out the warm sweaters, the granny sweaters. The granny sweaters are my favorite.
Oh,
I get made fun of. You're gonna wear the granny? Yes, I'm wearing the granny. Quite happy in the granny, thank you. I've got a whole repertoire of grannies, and they're just all about to come out. Okay, cold-induced thermogenesis, what is that? Shivering, okay? You get the response coming from the brain, telling the muscles, okay, contract, warm up. We need to generate more body heat because we're losing heat to the atmosphere. Those 3 components make up all of your energy expenditure in a given period of time, every day. So these things, if they're perfectly steady and you're balanced on this homeostasis teeter-totter, what will happen with your body and your weight and stuff over time? Energy input to energy output. It's going to pretty much stay the same. You're not going anywhere. Right? I'm not going anywhere. Now, if I put more into this and less into this, right, I'm going to be in a negative energy balance direction. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to lose body mass. Does that make sense? If I'm in the other direction, more in a positive direction, I'm going to gain. Right? If I'm, depending on how you're looking at this, I'm turning the other way, so it looks reversed. But does that make sense whether you have a negative or positive energy balance? Okay? And that also incorporated into this when you're building muscle and you're building new tissues, but you're actually sort of burning more, a little more than you're taking in. Sometimes you can actually gain weight. Yes? Do
Do you see how that happens? I do it every time. If I really get into a big training like program, I will start like losing fat and gaining muscle, and you're not converting fat into muscle. Don't ever say that. People say, oh, I'm going to convert this fat into muscle. Fat is fat tissue. Muscle is muscle tissue, right? Your cells in your body have created those. What happens is you lose some of your fat stores that your fat cells are hanging on to. They release them. And in doing a workout program or resistance training or strength training, you're building muscle. So your muscle fibers are actually gaining in mass. They're building new proteins within them, so they're stronger, they're thicker, they're more obvious, right? So sometimes when you do that and you're building muscle, you do have to take in more calories, right? So you're upping all of that because you're increasing this element of your metabolism right there. So a lot of people, that's what I tell people, we shouldn't focus on the scale anyways, really, right? It's your overall health and fitness and what you're able to do in your life and how you feel. So I don't really look at that. People go, I gained 10 pounds and I'm working out. I'm like, you're also gaining muscle. Muscle is way heavier than fat. About 2.5 times the density and weight of fat. So it weighs more. So some of these things in general, this just means your energy input versus your energy output. If that stays in balance, you don't really gain or lose weight. You maintain homeostasis. You sort of stay right where you're at, okay? I don't expect you to know all of these things. This is just an example table like I gave you in lab for the lab packet of where you look at the different types of activity. There's some funny ones on here. And you look at your weight in pounds. This one already has it parceled out. The other one is how many kilocalories per minute per kilogram of your body weight. And then you have to factor in and multiply your weight by that value. This one from my physiology text I pulled it from, this has it, you just find your weight category and then it'll tell you how many kilocalories per minute that particular activity is. And this is a little bit more of an estimate because it's not your actual body weight factored in like you guys are doing in your lab activity. But this was kind of funny, even things like gardening, weeding, digging, my favorite things, not really. And if I look at my weight, that's like 6 kilocalories or 7 kilocalories, okay, per minute. Even things like, okay, rowing, if you do the rowing machine, don't I have a rower in here?
Yeah, you did. I don't do rowing anymore.
Not anymore, you used to. Okay, so Jackie used to row. I remember you saying that. All right, so rowing, now we're not talking on a machine, because when you actually do rowing, it's even more intensive than an actual machine, but it gives you sort of simulation. Vigorously rowing, okay, somewhere in here, 10 to 12 kilocalories a minute. We could go down, walking, 2-mile walking, this is very leisurely, a couple kilocalories a minute. We even got square dancing, many you didn't go to the roundup, go square dancing. Totally not. There's not even square dancing there, it's the weirdest place I've ever been in my life.
So
but it's kind of funny, I know students have invited me there before, I'm like, I'm not gonna go hang out at the roundup. I'm sorry. But square dancing is there, there's, let's see, bicycling, okay, rowing, there was another one, skiing. Some of these are the greatest, actually. Cross-country skiing at 9 miles per hour, so straight up, going across on the cross-country skiing. One of the greatest burning is almost 20 kilocalories a minute in this case, especially if you're heavier, like in more some of the male weights. It burns a lot. There was one I was going to show you that was kind of funny. I guess that was it, square dancing. Here that was. Skiing, swimming. Okay, so swimming, how fast you are at swimming. Those can be really high, burning a lot as well. Anyways, it just gives you sort of the breakdown. These are how much energy it takes because your muscles are burning ATP, right, at certain rates or intensities with these different activities. But, like I point out, even typing or things like walking super slow, it's still burning calories. So for people especially that, you know, have problems with physical activity or they don't like it or they can't do it, even things like walking. You can walk a couple hours, you can go on leisurely hikes. Like, you're still burning, you're still doing things to get your heart up, and you're still moving and expending energy. So people assume you have to get on a treadmill and burn it crazy for like an hour. You don't have to do that. That's not, physical activity comes in a lot of different forms. And sometimes for me, I don't even have time to exercise. I literally have no time, and I know everybody says that. I don't have time. But I'm running here, picking up kids, going there, teaching classes, going to faculty, get home, and I'm like, I gotta make dinner, I gotta make lunches, and then it starts all over the next day. But what I realized in a lot of that, I'm running all over the place. Like I am doing stairs like 10 times a day. I'm running, instead of walking, I'm running a lot of places. That's all physical activity. That's all. So when I was doing my little log, I was like, I get to exercise today. Like I didn't even bike, I didn't run, I didn't do weights, but when I added it up, it was almost like I was just a bumblebee. Oh yeah, that's right, okay, yeah, I did this, I did that. Were you gonna say something, Alex?
I was just wondering if, like, how in shape you are also affects that, cause like, if you're less in shape, then don't your muscles have to work harder?
Yes. Yes, but overall, for those things in general, the best measure is just your overall mass, your overall weight. But, and it just means those are how many calories in general those things consume. So even if I'm super great shape, I'm the rock, right? Or I'm someone that's sort of a couch potato, I do those different activities, that's how much energy those activities take, based on how much mass I have to move. Does that make sense? That's why we factor by weight. That's why your weight is always factored in there. So, preferred energy sources, and I get this a lot too, students thinking about different types of diets, the keto diet, the no-carb diet, all these different things. Your tissues have preferred energy sources, okay? And they reflect a balance of the nutrients that you have to consume. So, the brain actually prefers glucose. If you don't have enough glucose, you don't have enough glycogen stores, your liver depleted, muscles depleted, your cells and tissues, your body will start converting other fuels into sugar. It's called gluconeogenesis. You don't even have to go there. It just gets too much biochemistry, and I already gave you enough. But your sources of fuels will start getting converted into sugar so that your brain can keep using the preferred nutrient that it likes. Because it likes to do glycolysis, Krebs cycle, etc. It likes it's very happy. Those neurons are happy doing that. Can go on other things like ketones and fatty acids, and it can shift more to that, but the preferred source is glucose. Okay. Skeletal muscles prefer fatty acids. They will also break down and use glucose, and they will do that. But when you're shifting into gear and actually doing exercises, a lot of times you'll use fatty acids. So your preferred energy fuel is coming from adipose tissue, releasing fatty acids from the triglyceride macromolecules, and so they can actually use the fatty acids. And they put those through the Krebs cycle, and then the electron transport chain, and then making ATP at massive rates, okay? And then we also have other organs and tissues. They use ketones, they can break those down and metabolize those, lactic acid. So believe it or not, even your muscles, when they do lactic acid fermentation, and you're pushing it so far, you're running out of oxygen, so they switch into lactic acid fermentation. Feel the burn? Your tissues will start using the lactic acid as a fuel, and they break it down and reverse it and get a little bit of ATP. So they clear it, break it down, get rid of it. Whenever I put AAs, that means what? Amino acids. So you can also use amino acids, a lot of other tissues will use amino acids as a fuel source. Healthy eating, what should an adult woman or man eat to stay healthy? So a lot of these things apply to like all adults. All have specific focuses that apply to women predominantly, but in general, this is everybody. What should an adult eat to stay healthy? Just give me some.
Vegetables.
Lots of greens, lots of vegetables. Yep, those are all good, right? Lots of greens, lots of vegetables. Fruit, yes.
Fiber.
What? Fiber. Okay, get good fiber, soluble and insoluble fiber in the diet. What else? Protein. Get some protein in there. Protein is good. What'd you say? Protein. We got some protein in the house. What else?
Fish.
Pizza's good. Pizza's good. I mean, it's a combination. You get everything, especially if you load it with like veggies and meat and like. You get that giant. Some of you always give me the funniest faces. I love it. She's like, it's like, I'm sorry, I'm not being offensive. It's what I like.
Brown rice.
Soy sauce, brown rice, jasmine brown rice is very good. Sushi. I just said sushi the other day. I used to be a hater of sushi. Like, not a hater, I just hated people that were liking sushi. And let me explain why, because they were always so snobby. Like, I grew up where I was poor. Okay, so I didn't go to sushi, and they're like, oh, sushi's so good, and I'm like, it's just like rice wrapped up with like some crap shoved in it, and some raw fish, ugh. So that was sort of my attitude, and then I was exposed to sushi at this fancy dinner thing, and I was in UW, I was getting my doctorate. I didn't fit in there, but I liked everybody, I just didn't fit in. So we did the dinner thing, and I was like, this is sushi? This is bomb, like this is, I ate so much, I'm like, oh my gosh, but it's expensive, so it's one of those things like, but it's healthy in that there's no processed added, it's very simple, sometimes it's like eel, it's shrimp, it's crab, it's avocado, it's cucumber, it's rice, it's like salmon is really, yes. I'm calling my daughter Squid and Geary lately, I don't know why, it's just a little name, I'm like, come on Squid and Geary, it's their little joke. There's a game called Sushi Go, and we play it, it's a card game, it's very fun. So we call each other those names. Were you going to say something, Tristan?
Wait, someone said soy sauce. That's good for you.
Sodium.
Oh, the sodium in it.
Sodium is in soy sauce, and you do need sodium, so we'll talk about those minerals and organic compounds and things that we need. Too much sodium is not good. She likes soy sauce, apparently, so people are just shouting out the things that they like. Now, if you have too much soy sauce, no, okay? So if you have too much salt, sodium chloride, right? Table salt, too much of that is bad. I will say the best way to shop, and I like to eat everything. I'll eat almost anything and everything. You know, I used to be a sushi hater, now I love the sushi, so I will eat anything under the sun. The best way to shop, if you are not a hunter-gatherer, which most of us, we go and hunt and gather at the grocery store, right? Is to stay at the edges of the grocery store. Have you heard this? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because you go to the middle, that's all the boxed, processed, fatty, added sugars.
Stuff I like.
So if you eat color, that's not added color, and you eat natural stuff, you're really around the edges, you're not in the middle. But I will dive and I will go into the middle, because there's the snacks and the things that I need to put, like the pretzels and the little small things that the kids like that. So anyways, in general, there's a lot of research on this, and we used to have the whole food pyramid. That's really not so accurate anymore. The American Heart Association, the AHA, Harvard School of Public Health, U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA. Even though our guest speaker was kind of a hater on the USDA and then agricultural and all this stuff, there are a lot of regulations and a lot of research and stuff that goes into a lot of these things. So, yeah, there's that. Eat plenty of fruits and vegetables. And this is something we don't do enough. Americans do not do enough of this. Other countries around the world do many more of this than we do. Eat whole grains and high fiber foods. So whole grains, not cracked, broken up, processed, bleached, right? Whole grains, the breads that have like the whole grains in them and the oats on them and the, you know, bird seed all over it. Those are better. The bird seed breads are better, okay? Fish, especially seafood rich in omega-3s like salmon, that's recommended even 2 times a week. Yeah, I know some of you don't like seafood and fish, and we're going to talk about some of the substitutes that you can do for that, okay? Limited saturated fats, trans fats, and cholesterol. Limited, sparingly. This doesn't mean omit it completely, right? Unless you're at really, really high risk, you have hypercholesterolemia, you have it in your family, you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, then you want to try to cut this, because you're just adding to the problem. But for most people, we need some fats in the diet. So I'm really not into those diets that are like eliminate all the fats, you know, just all protein, all vegetables. It's a good balance to have some of those. Small portions of lean meat and poultry are recommended. So not big massive amounts, but little small amounts of lean meat and poultry. Fat for your low fat milk, dairy products, if you can. Some people are lactose intolerant. They lack the lactase enzyme, so it doesn't allow them to split down the milk sugar and metabolize it. They get diarrhea, gassy, gastrointestinal. I have friends that are a little bit lactose intolerant, but they can do it. They just can't do a lot of it. So they can do a little cheese, or they can do a little bit of ice cream, but they can't do too much. They also have some medicine and stuff for gas relief and stuff that they can do. So a lot of people are not fully intolerant. They just have a little bit of a sensitivity. Yes, Teresa?
Is it like a myth that you're not supposed to have dairy until like a certain age? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how after a certain age, like a lot of animals like stop having dairy, so like it's like we still have dairy, like. after
So
the age.
that adds to sort of part of it. We haven't really domesticated animals and had agriculture and farming and all that stuff until the last 10, 15 years. Domesticating and having plots of land and growing stuff and having cows and getting their milk and goats and getting their milk. So it is relatively more new in the evolutionary history of man. So some people, it makes sense. They have issues with consuming dairy from other sources like cows and goats later in their life. And then they develop issues like intolerance, or they're allergic to it, or they just can't do it altogether. They don't have the lactase enzyme. But we all grow up drinking milk.
Yeah.
Right, so we all, and you have the enzymes that break down the casein, the milk protein, and the lactose, the milk sugar. We have all those enzymes to break that down. It's just, you're right, a lot of animals, they stop consuming that and they go on to other things. So, and we do too, for the most part. But if we still maintain dairy in the diet, you still have those enzymes, you can still break it down. But yeah, so some people cannot, and that's why they have issues with that. And there's some genetics, some associated factors that come along with that. And I know people have tried to use that in different ways. Well, European descent, or like white in general people, have the milk digesting enzymes. And people of different ethnic backgrounds coming from places in like Africa or South America, wherever, that are darker skinned in general, sometimes lack that enzyme. It doesn't really come down to race or ethnicity. People try to put it on that, it's not. It's based on geography of where you lived and whether you consumed dairy and did all that in the cultural biome of where you were living. So we can't say, oh, white people have this, Mexican have this, black have this, because it's based on geography and ancestry. Does that make sense? So where you are actually from in these places that were drinking cow milk and doing goat milk and making cheese and doing all that stuff. That's what it's sort of linked with. If you don't like it, don't do it. If you don't want to have dairy, don't have dairy. If you can't have dairy, don't eat dairy. There's a lot of other substitutes that we're going to talk about. I like milk, grew up drinking milk, and so my kids drink milk. It actually has a lot of health benefits for kids when they're really, really small and prevents a lot of problems in kids. Minimal solid fats and processed foods with added sugar and salt. We call those SOFAs, fats with added sugars. So minimize that and reduce salt or minimize salt. Okay. Alcohol in moderation or not at all. Alcohol is a very high energy, empty calorie type of nutrient or something you take in. Yes, and it is really in high doses anyways. It is a toxic chemical. It obviously affects the brain and the overall mental state and coherence of the individual, but over time also it assaults the liver and has problems on different body structures because it's a poison and your body has to break it down. So it's giving you a whopping as many kilocalories as like fat does, but it's not giving you any of the nutrition. Okay, so for most people, in moderation or balance, all these things are really important. That MyPlate, there's some neat things on that MyPlate now, that myplate.gov, you can look at where states you are, what regions you're at, different recipes and common foods and common farm foods and what you can use in different recipes. You can also use this to track your nutrition and physical activity. Is anybody using MyPlate or using different ones? A few of you are, right? Okay, cool. So eating healthy, the MyFood or the MyPyramid food guidance system has been replaced with the MyPlate. So based on a lot of the AHA and USDA and all this other research from third parties, sort of, you know, that food pyramid with all the grains and carbs and stuff all at the bottom, it's really not that. It's a better balance of all those different macronutrients. So instead of that, with a lot of breads and grains and carbs, and then vegetables and stuff, and then meat and dairy and stuff on the top, and then oils and fats and sweets sparingly, it's kind of shifted more to an equal proportion kind of plate, sort of, with just thinking about vegetables, fruits being more than they were before, protein and grains, dairy, carbs, kind of in this area. So it's a little bit more balanced and holistic instead of just being this giant pyramid. This over time is not so good, consume a ton of carbohydrates like that. Balance is key. So how many calories should you consume to achieve calorie intake equaling energy expenditure or calorie burning? Right? How many calories should you consume? This is a question, so this will depend on your physical activity level, your age, and your gender. You were doing this in lab, right? Okay, so again, we're sort of reiterating some of these key points. Many programs and apps will calculate this for you, and that's what you're all hopefully already doing, right? There's EasyFit K-Cal Counter. I use this one, I liked it the best just because it was super easy. I didn't have to do a lot. Calorie Counter EasyFit, free. I got the free version. And that's what it sort of looks like as you're going on. It sort of fills up your little, I'm getting to the top of my calorie thing. It's how much you're burning. You can go in and look at how much you're burning and then what proportion you're consuming of fat, carbs, protein. Clearly, this was a day, this was me. I was lacking protein. I think I have more protein than I actually do. Even like granola bars and different things, not a lot of protein, right? So if you're not getting meat and different types of vegetables and different protein and other sources and oats and all these things, it's hard to actually, I found it was much harder to make sure I got enough protein. So there's also MyPlate, some of you are using, and Fit Days or MyFitnessPal, some of those other ones I know some of you guys are using. So those are all good. We're doing that already. Okay, foods to reduce sodium. Too much soy sauce on the sushi, not good. Too much salt, too much table salt, not good. Too much canned processed soups, foods, not good. Solid fats, the body actually makes all the saturated fats it needs. So really you should try to replace these with monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fatty acids. These are, you know these already, right? What are these? What is a monounsaturated fat? Mono means one. It's unsaturated. So it's got double bonds between the carbons of the fatty acid. It's got one double bond. So it's a fatty acid, it just has one double bond. okay? And these are liquids and oils at room temperature. Polyunsaturated means what?
Multiple.
2 or more double bonds, right? So these again have kinks and they're liquid at room temperature. These are healthier oils or healthier substitutes than saturated fats. Because your body can churn out and make the saturated fats, right? And use them in your body for making membranes and storing and all these other things, making your phospholipid membranes. So the biggest saturated fats consumed in the US, this is not surprising at all, cakes, cookies, pies, donuts, granola bars, pizza, cheese, sausage, hot dogs, bacon, ribs, french fries, hash browns. And I ranked them sort of, that's how common they are. But I like all those things. There's like, I mean, I don't care really, sausage, whatever. With breakfast though, with pancakes and syrup, yes, that's amazing. But, so a lot of these, especially things like hot dogs and bacon and ribs, a lot of anything you grill or you fry or you do on an open like flame tends to accumulate nitrates, and those cause cancer at high doses over time. I love me some bacon. I love me some bacon, but yes, if you eat a lot of these nitrate consuming foods like meats and sausages and hot dogs and grilled stuff, it's increasing your exposure to some of those carcinogenic chemicals, yes. I know, but in moderation. I'm talking, when we do studies on animals and rats and stuff, and they're really giving them high amounts, high doses, okay? So in moderation, for most of this stuff, in moderation is fine. Also, some of these processed baked goods and stuff, some of these still have trans fats in them. So the thickened oils that they use, when you like buy them, you don't make them yourselves. Always healthier to make them yourself. Make homemade oatmeal cookies with dark chocolate chips.
Oh.
Okay, that's a cookie and it's in here, but you got some health benefits. I'm giving you some fiber in there, getting some dark chocolate cocoa in there, which actually has beneficial effects, and we'll look at that more later. So there are ways to make sort of alternatives and balance, and not splurging all the time on these is the best way to go. Yes?
So between like the monounsaturated and polyunsaturated, is there like differences in health benefits?
Nope. Monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, those are all unsaturated fats, and they're all liquid, and they tend to come from plant sources. Yeah. Yeah.
In moderation, do you mean like having them every couple months or like every once a month?
I don't know what I mean by in moderation in terms of chronological time. I mean, as long as you're eating a healthy, balanced diet and you're getting your proteins and you're getting your carbs and you're getting some fats, you intersperse and you put some of these things in there, some of the sweets, some of the things you like, and you don't deprive yourself. For me, I could not go a month without any of those things.
Yeah.
Not every single one of them, but I have to have a few of those things in there. I can't go a month. So a month is kind of long. I mean, I don't know, but I think another element of this, and we'll talk about it more, is physical exercise. Okay, so if you're physically doing exercise and doing activities, and you have a balanced diet overall, so you're getting all the macronutrients that you need, if you have some sparing yummy things in there, that's fine, right? It's sort of in moderation, and it depends on the person, you know, it sort of depends on the person. You also have to watch out for using these as rewards, because they tend to get addictive. So in our brains, they actually affect the dopamine reward pathways in the brain, similar to how drugs affect the brain, like morphine or opioids, stuff like that. So you can develop addictions. There are carbohydrate addictions to sweets. It's a real thing. And I know even people that work out, sometimes they'll work out and go, I'm going to reward myself because I worked out, I might get like a blueberry, whatever, and they get some candy, right? So they're already associating the, you know, like reward, the happy, I did good, to eat the sweet thing. I'll just eat a sweet thing when I feel like having a sweet thing. Try not to make, you know, just, I like it, it's good. I'm going to not go crazy. I'm going to keep it in moderation, but I'm not going to deprive myself from everything. You deprive yourself from everything, good luck maintaining that. Good luck sustaining on that and being happy, right? So, all right, solid fats and added sugars, we call those SOFAs. The agricultural and food processing encompasses solid fats, but the added sugars, those are absolutely the worst. A lot of those are SOFAs. Dietary cholesterol, body makes all the cholesterol it needs. So you actually don't need to consume cholesterol. Remember, cholesterol is in your phospholipid membranes of all your cells, so it helps to make your membranes of cells. It's also in different structures inside of your cells. Cholesterol, your body makes, and your liver helps to make that. So you have that in your body, and it's used in all your cells, and it's valuable. It's a good element that your body needs, but you don't really need to take cholesterol in the diet, because your body does a good job at making it. It's like saturated fats. Refined grains, and alcohol. So these are two things I already repeated before, but refined grains, things that are bleached, processed, broken down, so it loses all the good healthy elements in the whole oats or the whole wheat or the whole things. Foods to increase, fruits and vegetables, fruits and vegetables, fruits and vegetables, not enough. And actually, I will tell you one of my favorite go-tos, very easy, and I don't know, if you don't like it, then that's a problem. Spinach. Just straight up raw spinach. You don't even have to steam it because you lose some of the vitamins when you steam it. It's yummy though when it's steamed and soft. But I will just straight eat it raw. And I did this going to a football game because my daughter's cheerleading and the football game was yesterday and I didn't have time to eat. So I went home and I just grabbed like mounds of spinach leaves and just put it in a bag and threw some bell peppers in there. No dressing, no. Dressing is yummy, but I didn't have time. So I just eat it like Popeye. It's so good, I'm telling you. The calcium content that you get in spinach, 3 cups of spinach is 100% pretty much your calcium a day. The vitamin D, the folic acid, the magnesium, the vitamin C, that's all in spinach. That's why they had the cartoon, I Popeye the Sailor Man. Did you guys ever see? You check out and they'd be all strong.
Yeah.
That actually has some biology, some facts to that. So spinach is one of the best things to actually eat. And just to get that in, you're getting a lot of those nutrients and vitamins just by like eating like, I was just eating like a cow or a goat, just like at the game eating my leaves. I know I looked weird, but it's yummy, it's good, and I didn't have time. So either that or like a crappy granola bar. So I went with this bag of spinach. Whole grains, brown rice, we mentioned, popcorn, flaxseed, some cereals and breads that have whole grains. This is a piece of fish with some asparagus on some brown rice. Milk and milk products contain a lot of calcium, a lot of potassium, and vitamin D. So ours typically now are fortified, supplemented with vitamin D. They're linked with increased bone health in children and reduced risk for diabetes, cardiovascular disease, CVD, and high blood pressure in adults if children consume these products when they're young. Okay? And this is what the research shows. It's not the milk people or the dairy farms or the factory farmers that are pushing this. This is what the research actually found. Kids that actually consume and have cheese and milk and dairy, which our speaker said they're pushing this in schools. A lot of the research actually shows that children are at reduced risk for a lot of these other ailments later in life just by having dairy when they're younger. So, I mean, you can be anti-dairy, you not want to do the dairy, that's fine, but this is actually what the research shows. All right, so increase oils in small amounts. So don't drink the olive oil or the vegetable or canola oils, but you can cook with it, right? Cook with it, add it to stuff. You could do a little bit of olive oil and saute up like mushrooms or asparagus or zucchini. I slice up little zucchini and my kids love it. That's like the best way that I can get them to eat vegetables. A little olive oil, salt and pepper, and just like butter squash or zucchini and just cut in little pieces. They love it. I can put it on anything. They're like, ooh, I want some more. They eat a ton of it. It's a good way to do it. You can replace some beef and some chicken with sort of seafood or nuts. That's a good sort of a replacement. That's a good way to have some of these healthier fats. And it's linked with lowering total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol. So some of these oils, these unsaturated, replacing the